Welcome to the webinar. We're going to make this webinar specifically about opening and hooking. So I'm going to start talking on those topics, and then any questions that have to do with that, feel free to share. So essentially anything that's opening, hooking, the first few minutes of the set, banter, push-pull, those kind of elements will be good. Then the next one that we'll do will be on emotional connection and building comfort, building that sort of middle game area. And then the next one we'll do after that will be logistics and closing. So we're going to separate them out so we can stay really on topic. So if anybody has questions to begin with on opening and hooking, let's hear them. Let's see them typed. And aside from that, I'm going to start just cracking into it myself, and then I'll periodically look down for the questions as well. All right, so with regards to opening and hooking, biggest thing to realize is that all you really need to do in opening is get their attention. That's the main thing. Now there are, obviously openers that'll do better or worse, but first of all, it's hard to know exactly situation by situation without a lot of experience. And secondly, it doesn't really matter that much as long as you get the attention, and as long as you don't do something so super weird and creepy that you preclude any possibility of them ever liking you. So that's where you go. The biggest thing on the open, though, and with hooking, is what comes right after the open, which is you need to generally keep talking no matter what. In any case, you need to have some sort of substance, whether it is them reacting to you or you continuing to talk. Silence is not a viable alternative. And lack of input from you is not really a viable alternative. Even if she's talking, you need to be actively listening, you need to be engaged. And it seems like this should be obvious, be engaged in the set, but most guys probably aren't engaged in the set a lot of times. They're engaged in wondering how they look, or wondering if the girl likes them, wondering about their ego, those sort of things. You need to be truly engaged and willing to talk no matter what. And recognize that off the open, you probably have like a little window, maybe a grace period you could call it, or just a shocked period where the girl doesn't really know what you're saying that much. So it doesn't really matter so much. You're not being judged on content. You're being sort of just tolerated, and she's evaluating whether, just where you're at based on your general vibe and your general manner. Now, obviously, there are times when the girl opens and she's immediately, she's like, oh my god, you're hot. That's nice when that happens, but we're talking about the times when that doesn't happen, because that's when hooking becomes a real issue and a real concern. All right. First question we have is, how do you open groups on the dance floor? Single girls, Jews, hand of God, claw, etc. All right, so there's a few different things that I'll do to open on the dance floor. First of all, I don't dance. Which isn't to say that you shouldn't dance. In fact, I think that it's almost inexcusable that at this stage in my pickup career I don't dance, but I get good enough results from verbal game, and I'm busy enough with work that I haven't found the time to really learn. So that's my excuse, take it or leave it. So if you can dance, if you can be a good dancer, by all means, it's certainly not going to hurt you, and I think it's a good skill to have in game in general, so cultivate that. But for me, as someone who doesn't dance, or doesn't dance very well, I'll dance one-on-one with a girl, but in a group, hell no. And one-on-one not touching the girl, also no. I'll do like the grinding. That's about what I can do. So because of that, what I like to do is I will take the dance situation and turn it into a just general, more party situation where dancing isn't relevant, or into a situation where instead of trying to match their energy, I use authority, I guess, and dominance to keep their attention. So what I will do, a few different ways I will do it. One is, say that there's two different girls, like one girl here, one girl here. I will go in and I'll put arms around both girls, tap them on the shoulder, and just be like, you guys are absolutely adorable, or you guys look like trouble, or you guys X, whatever you noticed. You guys had the classiest look. You guys, something like that, something that's relevant to them. Because when we talk about the hooking model, we have focus, relevance, emotion, decision. So I want to bridge relevance on the open if I can. It just makes things easier. So I'll like tap them on the shoulder. You guys are X oftentimes. Very dominant, fairly loud. So I'm definitely getting their attention. There's no doubt that they know I'm there, and there's no doubt that they're going to be engaged. Now they might or might not like it, but if my vibe is generally good and happy, Generally, more often than not, I'll get a response. And the nice thing is, from there, I'm leading the situation. I'm leading the group, so I'm not stuck in a situation where like they're dancing around me or telling me what to do, or I have to like jump through their little dance hoops. Especially again because I don't enjoy dancing. I'm not very good at it. So that's what I usually do in that case. The other one that I'll do, which I really like, it's kind of hard to demonstrate. I'll try. Is this is a Derek thing, and what he does is he'll like tap the girl on the shoulders, then he'll like grab her like upper arms, and then grab her hands. He goes you, and he's like bringing the well, first of all, it's like a pattern interrupt from NLP. The idea is she's doing one thing and all of a sudden she's doing something else, so it's a shock to her. So she's like, she has attention because she's shocked. But beyond that, it's then very dominant and it slows her rhythm down to match his. And so he gets to run the set at sort of a low energy and a way where he can run it on his terms and in a way that he enjoys, because he's not a guy that dances either. If you ever see Derek, you just know he would not dance for a girl. So those are two things that I do. Both of them involve dominance. Other ones that I've seen work that I kind of like and have done at certain times. One is to go like just over near a girl and just kind of like bump the girl, like as though you're dancing, but kind of playfully. And then as soon as she turns, you can bump her maybe one more time, or you can just turn and say hi. But again, happy, dominant, fun are the key criteria that you need to have. No half-assing. No going light and easy. You have to hit it hard. That's essential to what you're doing here. So no, hey, I'm here. Oh shit, right? You have to break through that wall. You have to, whether through energy or through dominance or through your charisma or your intensity or whatever. You have to break through that wall. You have to be on some level more than whatever they're experiencing without you there, because otherwise you're just not on their radar, right? You have to go at a higher level of something than them. I used to say higher energy level. And that's an easier way to understand it, but it's not a complete understanding. So now I have to say it the complicated way of saying, higher energy or attention or intensity or dominance or whatever. But the point is, you have to be higher in some level, because if you don't give them a reason to pay attention to you, they won't. So those are the critical things for that. Let's see. All right. Okay, so this is talking about how Julian hooks. Let's see. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys here in that I know Julian, I've gamed with Julian, but I have not actually watched him. So take that for what it's worth. So I know sort of how Julian games, but I don't know all of his explanation of how he games necessarily. And also, I'm going to say as a caveat that whenever people ask me questions about other instructors' methods, and I'm not fully versed in them, or even if I am, your interpretation of the instructor's method is not a quote of what the instructor said. I'm 100% of the time, they said something and you interpreted it differently. Whether you got it, it's possible that you interpreted something in your own experience that's even richer than what they said, but oftentimes you're missing something, because, communication is not perfect. So take all that with a grain of salt whenever I answer a question like this. But anyway, let's look at this. It says, Julian says, hooking is about being sex-worthy and being at the cause and not the effect. Does Julian make short questions in the first minutes until hooking? How does he plow through? Okay. So what is Julian doing in hooking? Why does it work? What is the nature of the method, etc.? And maybe where is it rich, where is it not rich, etc. Okay, so first let's look at my model of hooking, and then let's look at how this behavior falls into that model. So the model would be focus, relevance, emotion, and decision. Okay, so focus, obviously all instructors, anyone who opens with any kind of oomph at all is getting focused. So we both have that in common. Relevance is interesting. Relevance is saying that like the girl finds either value or threat in what's going on. And so Julian asking questions, does she find value or threat in this? Well, it depends. If he's asking boring questions without a lot of intensity behind them, then no, because the questions themselves are no value, and the tonality and the way that they're being asked is no threat. However, if he asks questions in a demanding way, in a funny way, where his facial expression, his body language is being high value and high dominance, then he in and of himself is a threat, right? Whether the questions are a threat or not, he in the way he's carrying himself is a threat. And so the girl will respond to that threat oftentimes. So that's going to get you through that relevant stage. Also, if the questions are interesting, right? If you say, where are you from, then that's pretty boring. But if you say, like, you don't seem like you're from around here, that's more interesting. Now, Julian does it a little different way. Instead of changing it to a statement, what he does, he asks the question and then follows it up with statements or judgments. So, wait, are you from this area? And she'll say yes, and I'm like, oh, or I'll be like, oh, really? Right, so it's positive or negative, and then maybe he'll make fun of her for it. I'll be like, wait, and you like it here? Right, so now what's happening is, because it's now about her, it's now become relevant. So now his judgment is a threat, his body language and posture and vocal tonality is a threat, and then his content, in terms of not the questions themselves but the follow-up in between the questions, is both value and threat. So he's definitely achieving that level of relevance. Okay. Next is emotion. Emotion is it emotional to the girl? Is she having spikes, highs, and lows? Well, obviously you can look at Julian and know that he's doing things that are spiking emotions, right? He's like his facial expressions of, oh my god, you. His little smirk that he has, little Julian smirk that he does. And then also, like, you know, the obvious ones like calling a girl a dog and that kind of stuff, or making fun of her, and also, you know, bringing sex up into the conversation constantly. Julian, not so much these days, he's kind of toned it down, but a few years ago was like the guy who said that's what she said more than any man on the planet, right? So he was turning every single thing sexual, every single thing emotional. So that's definitely present in his set as well. And then lastly is the decision phase. And the decision phase is where he gets the girl to either commit or not commit to something, right? So, like, come here, eyes, focus. Look, what do you say? Close your mouth when you talk to me. All these kind of things that are like demanding, commanding. He'll venue change quickly. He'll tell the girl, it's fine, you can go, right? These are all things that can lead to a decision, or a non-decision. So, when Julian's doing all these things, he is going through all the different phases of the Fred hooking model. Or at least not necessarily going through all the phases. I don't know if he's actually, obviously, he probably isn't conscious of that he's doing that. For years and years and years, I wasn't conscious that I was doing it until I actually delineated that model. But he does have behaviors that allow him to likely hit upon all of those different phases. So that's an important thing that's going on there. So yeah, it fits all that. The other thing that he says, be at the cause, not the effect. Well, what is being at the cause, not the effect? Well, that is relevance and emotion, right? That's making sure that what you do is engaging and even like a little disruptive to her reality and what's going on, right? It's how you get on her radar in the first place. So that's a key part of it as well. So that's my sort of just quick and dirty on how Julian's style ends up getting the hook fairly regularly. Let's see here. Should I keep talking even if girls look like, what the fuck, who is this weirdo, when I start talking to them? Well, different schools of thought on this. One school of thought would be to say that if the girl responds less than positively, go open another set, go hit up another girl, and just go take your chances there. And certainly there's something to be said for that philosophy. I can't argue too much with it on a certain level. However, there are two things wrong with this philosophy, potentially. First is that you'll never learn, right? From actually pushing through difficult sets, you'll learn, and those lessons will help you push through further, future difficult sets, so that later sets, when they are a little difficult, will seem easy to you, and you'll open a much higher percentage and get a much more better selection of girls instead of just being able to open the ones that open naturally for you. So that's one really, really good reason to do it. The other really good reason is that a lot of times, if it's just an immediate reaction of, oh my god, or what the fuck, that doesn't have anything to do with you. A lot of times that immediate reaction can just be circumstantial. They can be shocked. It can be they don't know you that well. And oftentimes, one more sentence or two more sentences can turn everything around. You'd be shocked how often, especially with really hot girls, it is that I open and get almost like flat rejected right away. But then later on another attempt, it actually opens much, much more smoothly, goes very, very well. And so, it all just comes together. And it's a lot of it's entitlement. It's the fact that you just open and she thinks you're just another guy. But when you open that second time, say, no, hey, you may have understood. I'm Todd. Nice to meet you. When you say that, she understands that you're like a real man, and that resonates with her. She'll a lot of times open up when she wouldn't before. And like I said, especially the hot girls, they'll give you that blasé, they'll give you that little quick test because they're getting hit on a lot, and that helps them weed out like 85% of guys like that. So they're gonna try and weed them out. Okay, let's see. This is kind of it's a little off topic for most people, so I'll answer it quickly. I'm going to participate in Hot Seat and Boot Camp in London in November. What's the best way to participate, like to get the most out of it? Get lots of sleep, come ready to learn, drop your ego at the door. And the other thing I will say is, if you can, don't come in rusty. Whatever level you're at for teaching, we'll teach you at that level. If you're expert, we'll teach you at an expert level. If you're total newbie, we'll teach you at a newbie level. But it's good if you are fairly advanced that you don't come in like super rusty and seem like a newbie the first day, because that will help. It'll make the diagnosis process and the speed at which we get to your real sticking points. It'll make it take a little bit longer. So the big thing I'd say is come in well rested, ready to learn, and come in a little bit not rusty. So I'd say do at least your normal number of approaches that you're doing in a week for a couple weeks beforehand, if not just a little bit more, just to make sure you're sharp. But beyond that, don't worry, we'll cater to you, and what we teach will work at just about any level. Okay, let's see. What would you do if you open a walking set and you only want one of them? Should I quickly isolate or include both in the conversation? Okay, well, first of all, you didn't mention two set, but we'll assume you mean a two set. You are not going to isolate a girl in a two set, pretty much ever. So what you are going to do, though, is you're going to select your target. And this is something I do talk about in the hot seat itself as well. But how do you select the target? It doesn't really matter who you talk to or how much you talk to them. What matters is the nature of the conversation you have with them. So specifically, you want to talk to, oftentimes in a two-set, talk to the obstacle about the target. So talk to the one that you're not as interested in about the one you are interested in. And what does that do? It makes it emotionally relevant and makes like a plot line, a little drama back and forth between you and the girl you're interested in, but it also keeps the other girl engaged. So that's a really good model for how to look at the whole thing, is that it's not about who you talk to, how much, it's about what way you're engaging. And so the way you pick your target is by engaging her on an emotional level, on a man-to-woman level, and on a this could happen, right? I've talked before about I, you, and we, right? As in like you're talking about I, or you're talking about you as in asking her questions about you, about her. Talking about you as in like making statements about her, or we talking about the two of you together. And we is the most intimate. So what you would do is with your target, you would address things as we. With your obstacle, you would always address things as you and I, right? So you're making a clear distinction between who you're with and who you're not with, or who that potential is for. But at the same time, you're not an idiot and you're not just like weeding yourself out unnecessarily. So those are things that I would do in that particular arena. How do you recognize if a girl's ready to be pulled, verbal and non-verbal insights? That is a question for the pulling webinar, which is in 2 months from now. So I'm going to try and stay on topic. Okay, let's see. I can make an irrelevant example. You look adorable like a baby polar bear. I'm having trouble setting the emotional part of the hook. What is a consistent way to make it emotional? Basically bringing emotions into it yourself. So either, well, first of all, motion creates emotion. So if you're dancing or being physical, that helps with emotionality. But the other thing that is good is just having your emotion like out there, saying, I love this, I hate this, oh my god, I loved you until that, I hated you on that. Adding push-pull, adding emotional spikes of any kind. So just like, for example, you look adorable like a baby polar bear. That already has a little bit of it to it, right? You look adorable is a positive. So that's a potentially positive emotional spike. So that's good, right? But it's not really great. But if you you look adorable like a baby polar bear, and I fucking hate it. I wish you'd be less cute. And the way that like jars them, and I fucking hate it. Oh my god, what's going on? And it jars them a little bit. That will help. Or You could even go the other way. You're fucking adorable like a baby polar bear. Oh my god, I fucking love it. Oh, stop it, right? That'd be another way to do it. But you see how there's more range of expression in what I'm doing, both in terms of my body language and my tonality and my facial expression, but also in terms of the content itself. There is more range of emotion. You're triggering more. The other thing that you're doing to make it emotional, beyond just like range of emotion, is making it about you and her. So, you're so cute, you're so adorable, just like a baby polar bear. I would like to do X with you. And it doesn't have to be sexual either. I would totally take you to the North Pole with me and make you my little guide, right? But now you're saying, you're indicating something you could do together, some kind of a thing, right? You're so adorable like a little baby polar bear. I totally want to take you to the tropics and let you get a tan for the first time ever. Whatever the fuck, it doesn't matter. But when you're saying stuff that you would do with her, or stuff that, or you're so adorable like a baby polar bear, it makes me want to have a crush on you, right? You're making it emotionally relevant as well. So you're doing emotional spiking and also emotional relevance. I hope that makes sense, and I hope it helps. How does someone separate purposeful intent from needy outcome? Sometimes they sound as if they can be intertwined. First of all, I did a video on this a couple weeks back, I believe. It was called "How to Show Intent Without Being Needy," the net intent method, something like that. And it's actually called "How to Show Interest Without Being Needy," the net intent method. So have a look at that video. It's on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/RSDTodd. Check that out. That goes into some detail on it. But the general idea is that, there's two things. One is there's a ratio. There's how much intent are you showing, how many positives are you showing versus how many negatives. So you can show a lot of positives and have a lot of compliments as long as you also have some negative expression in there. If it's just, I love you, 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 that gets really boring and the girl knows she has you. If it's, I love you, but I hate you, but I love you, but I love you, but I love you, but I hate you, but I hate you, but I love you, but I love you, but I hate you. That's kind of fine, because now there's some variety to it. It's interesting, and also the girl doesn't completely know she has you. So that becomes a very useful thing to add in, is the positives and the negatives as opposed to just the positives. The other thing is, it depends where your compliments come from. You can say you're cute and have it mean you're cute, you're better than me, you're above me, I wish you would deign to talk to me please ever. Or you can say you're cute as in, I'm amazing, and just as a gift to you, I'm going to acknowledge that you're cute, in like a matter-of-fact way. And when a really high-value guy says that, when a really high guy goes, you know what, you're kind of cute, that does not mean, oh my god, you're better than me, please love me. It means, you know what, you're kind of cute. Cool. Right? That's all it means. It doesn't mean a whole lot more than that. And that's kind of fine, right? It's coming from a place of offering her value and even judging, right? Even as you're saying you're cute, you're judging, as in you've been judged cute, so you're still putting yourself in the higher value role, as opposed to a role of bribing or wanting something. That's what neediness, that's what the needy compliment kind of thing is, or needy intent is, when it's coming from the role of like, please fill my cup. I'm not enough without you. Please give me something. So I hope that helps. But it depends, A, the ratio, and B, where it's coming from, in short. Is it worth it impossible to invade Immersion for only 1 month? Is it worth it to do sometime between December and April? When there's winter, I have heard that most clubs are closed at that time, and not many people travel to Vegas at that time. Again, I'll answer this one only quickly, because it's a little off topic, but I do appreciate product-related questions. Yes, it's definitely worth it and possible to participate in Vegas Immersion for 1 month. A lot of people do it. There's a lot of 1 month participants. And then there's a lot of longer participants. I would say the average length of participation is something like, maybe like, off the top of my head, like 2.2 months. There's a lot of 2 and 3 month guys. There's some guys that are like 6, 9 month long-term guys, and then there's a lot of 1 month guys. A lot of guys do that. So that's a pretty typical amount of time, and guys get a lot out of it. Is it worth it to do it sometime between December and April? Well, here's the pros and cons. It's a little colder here, and the beach clubs aren't going. But on the other hand, there are still amazing, amazing clubs every night. They're not mostly closed. Just the outdoor areas are closed. And actually, these days, they're putting domes up, so even the outdoor areas aren't closed. So there's still really, really good clubs. And even in winter, Vegas isn't that cold. So they're still pretty fucking good. And the big benefit of coming between December and April would be exactly the fact that it is the off-season. Because it's also, in a sense, the off-season for Immersion. So you're more likely to get a smaller program, which, you know, there will still be enough people. You still have a peer group out here, but it might be like currently, if we did over the winter last year, we were between like 15 to 20 people out here. Over the summer, we're between 40, and we had 40 and 40 to even when we had 60 people out here. We probably won't do 60 sustainably for a while yet, but in any case, you can see it's a smaller program, so you're going to get more attention from the coaches and more attention from me. So it's pros and cons both ways. That said, if you do come in the summer, we do try and keep the ratio good, and we do bring on, you know, other coaches and assistants. So it goes both ways. I would say there's no really wrong time to come, though. Vegas is amazing all the time, and the most important thing is when it fits your schedule. You get a great experience regardless. What is the line? I don't know what that means. Okay. Another interesting kind of practice. I don't even understand that one. The intent without outcome by playing video games, I don't understand that. Okay. When you speak of value threat, what are different forms of showing value? Are these classic attraction switches like pre-selection, or things like teasing, role plays, and spiking emotional state? Okay, so interestingly, I would say that all of the things that do value are almost by their nature attraction switches, but pre-selection is a weird one to choose because pre-selection is something you do outside of the set, and then all these other things you're mentioning like teasing, role play, spiking emotional state are things that you do in the set. But the other thing that's different here is pre-selection is an effect, and these other things are causes. So you're making a couple kind of false analogies here. So, for example, like if you were going to compare something to pre-selection, for it to be the same kind of like part of speech or part of game in terms of communication, you should compare it instead of to like teasing, things like vibe, things like having a good vibe, or because teasing is one element of having a good vibe, whereas like pre-selection, like social proof is one element of pre-selection. Looking well-groomed is one element of pre-selection. Looking rich is one element of pre-selection, right? So there's elements and then the effect. So you're comparing effects to causes here. You're also comparing in and out of set. So you're kind of like, you're comparing like apples and oranges and plums. But it's all those different things. It is pre-selection, that's value. Having a good vibe is value. Being a leader is value. Being non-reactive or being proactive is value, right? Understanding and executing on like showing intent is value. These are all things that are value. But yes, they are all attraction switches. They are all, if you want to understand what is valuable in a theoretical sense or what should be valuable, everything that is valuable are things that would have been indicators of good genetics over 10,000 years ago, like back before agriculture. In pre-agricultural days, indicators of good genetics. So that's what we're really looking at here. And I hope that makes sense to you. So that's what value and threat is. Oh, and threat is all those things that are attraction switches, and then it's also like literal direct threats, i.e., the possibility of harming someone's social status, the fact that you are big and strong, those kind of things. The fact that you are speaking in a tonality that, like a break and report tonality, is either commanding and it is high status, or it's also like a warning or a threat of either impending danger or impending violence. So those things are also contributing. But yeah, you're looking very much at things that would have triggered things in us as Neanderthals and as like primitive humans long time ago. Where do you draw the line between plowing and letting the girl participate? I don't like to plow if I don't have to, but sometimes I have to. So if the girl will participate, almost always I like to let her participate. It is my preference. The reason for plowing is not because it's ideal or because it's a good thing or what you want to happen. The reason for plowing is sometimes it's the only option. Right? The reason you plow is because you have to, not because you want to. Let's see. How to recognize the right moment to go for a kiss, how to put a girl on a date for a kiss. Can you provide us with some techniques, verbal phrases in order to make the attempt to kiss successfully? For that one, that's going to be, come back to next month's webinar where I talk about emotional connection, middle game, that kind of stuff. And also, just so that you're not completely unsatisfied for the month, I did a video on how to kiss on it's on the Todd Free Tour YouTube channel, so youtube.com/ToddFreeTour, and it's called How to Kiss a Girl. So have a look at that, and that should help. And that does 5 specific techniques, and then it also talks about the vibe that you need to have and on all that. So check that video out in the meantime, or come back next month, or better yet, both. Okay, how do you gauge that you have the decision phase of Fred locked down? Is this done by logistically moving her or qualifying her? What are specific actions you can take to get her to make the decision? Okay. This is a good question. This is something I talk a lot about in Hot Seat, and I give a lot of demos of in Hot Seat. But how to know when you have the decision phase? Well, first of all, there are bigger and smaller decisions. Something as little as you say, hey, look here, and she looks at you, that's a decision, right? She complied to something. So any form of compliance is a decision. However, obviously, like, hey, look here, and we're tell your friend we're leaving, tell your friend we're leaving the club. There's a big difference between those 2 levels of decision. So there are levels and levels and levels. And this is something that came up, it's something I kind of inherently understood but never explained in one of the hot seats. I think it was DC maybe. No, not DC, because I didn't do the hot seat there. In, I don't know, New York, LA, San Francisco, one of those ones. Anyway, in any case, the idea was that there's different levels of Fred, right? There's like a basic Fred, which is like focus, relevance, emotional decision, isn't like you make a decision strong enough that you'll keep talking to the guy. And then you have focus, relevance, emotion, decision. You make the decision strong enough that you'll leave your friends for the guy. And by the way, I keep saying focus. Once you have focus, once it's kind of handled. But then there's relevance, emotion, decision, such that you'll make out with the guy. Relevance, emotion, decision, such that you go home with the guy. Relevance, emotion, decision, such that you have sex with the guy. Relevance, emotion, decision, such that you'll like make the guy your boyfriend, right? Or whatever other kind of relationship. So there's levels and levels and levels of it, and obviously some things are bigger commitments than others. So stay 2 seconds, and they actually stay, is to a certain extent a decision, but it's a very light one, right? Come grab a smoothie with me is a bigger decision. But they are all decisions. Anything that's compliance is a decision. Anything that's compliance is a good indicator to the set, and it means you've got at least some level or some form of a hook, right? Now, there's deeper and deeper and deeper hooks, but it means you've got at least something. The other one that you can do is non-compliance, which is when you tell a girl to go away or suggest a girl go away and she doesn't. She's like, you can go now. It's okay, right? And then she doesn't leave. She stays. Well, that's a form of decision as well. That's a decision not to leave. So that also is sort of relevant to the decision phase. It means that you've like solidified your hook a little bit. But yeah, basically what you're looking for is compliance or non-compliance. Okay, let's see. When you say reverse game, it means you lead the conversation to a fruitful place and make her talk. Are they applicable the concepts of the book making other people talk by Farber here and make it work? I'd like to expand the reverse game. Okay, cool. That's really cool that obviously you've like looked at a lot of. I think you were the one that asked the Julian question as well. So you've obviously looked at a lot of my theory, and then you've looked at some of Julian's theories. That's really nice to see. And obviously, if you've read Making People Talk, I mean, I'm gonna imagine you read that on my recommendation because God knows it's been out of print for a while. So that's cool. You've definitely done your homework, definitely done your research. So like serious props to you on that. Using those concepts, for sure, the concepts of getting her talking is very, very useful. And I am a firm believer that for most girls who are fairly intelligent, the easiest way to game them is to let them talk a decent amount, especially if they're intelligent and they are like sexually open, right? If they're adventurous and open and intelligent, which to me, that's the kind of girls I like anyway. Letting them participate and letting them sort of like seduce themselves is a part of it. Think of it this way. Anytime that you are talking or selling or planting an idea in somebody's head, they may go along with it, but their brain's going to be resisting it and they're going to perceive it as having come from outside of them, right? They're going to be like evaluating and judging it. But any idea that they came up with themselves is, it came from them, so there's no need to judge it, right? And that's why, I actually did a video recently. It's a really, really, really crazy video. It's about how to plant an idea in a girl's head, right? How to actually make her think that the things that are going down are her choices and the things that she's trying to make go down. But that's what you want to have happen here. And if she's doing the talking, if she's participating in the conversation, and you're just kind of like throwing out the subjects of the conversation or throwing out good questions, and she's coming up with the content herself, well, she's never going to doubt content that comes from her own brain, right? If it came from her brain, she has no reason to distrust it, so she doesn't, right? Whereas if you're throwing out content as the guy who's with her and quite ostensibly trying to have sex with her, she's very likely to judge that. She's very likely to wonder about your intentions or to evaluate it and put it through a very like hard filter. So in that way, you're usually better off letting her carry the conversation and come up with those ideas. The other great thing about letting her talk or letting her game you is that it flips the dynamic around, so that now you are the source of validation. You are the one being chased. You are the one that is being treated as though they're in the high value role, and she's the one being in the role of selling. And that's going to automatically make her view you as a more high status person. It's also going to give you a lot more leverage and leeway for escalation. Because if you seem needy and like you're trying to push all the time and you escalate, well, it's just like, of course he's trying to escalate. He just wants something from you. But if she's pushing and making things happen and you're escalating occasionally, now it seems like, oh, it's like a reward, or oh, it's a shared experience. So that's something you really want to enact. Is you want it to be a situation where the girl feels like she's winning as well when things go down. So I don't know. That's a few thoughts on it. I don't know specifically, without doing a lengthy discussion, exactly what topics within it you'd like to talk about, but I think that gives you sort of a general idea of some of the concepts. But yeah, definitely that book, Making People Talk, is really good for learning how to lead through questions, right? Or literally how to lead through, not all questions, but learning how to lead through questions, interested statements, and the vibe of caring about the person, the vibe of finding out about the person, which is great because it's a great way to make the person comfortable with you, as well as excited about the conversation. All right, this pickup coach on YouTube told a girl he didn't have money in order to express that he wasn't a provider or beta male. What is your opinion on telling girls when you first meet her that you're interested in you, that you're not for the future husband, future father of my children prospect, but expressing your high quality sex buddy, short-term boyfriend, lover, prospect? I do agree with the second part of it. I don't agree with what that guy actually did, unless it was joking. Like, I've joked around about that. Like, I joke around about being homeless, or I joke around about not having money or that kind of thing. So that's totally fine. I don't like to accept actual low status frames because I think it just hurts you more than it helps you. Like, I don't want her to actually believe that I'm a scrub and don't have my shit together at life, but indicating that that's not the important thing being communicated in interaction is good, and communicating that you're not necessarily like lover, not necessarily like boyfriend material or husband material, but more in that lover role is very valuable as well. So I say a lot of things along those lines. I will say things like, well, first of all, I'll start implying sex very early on. I'll be like, yeah, we're not making the sex tonight, which is not something that like someone in like a provider role would be saying. They'd be saying, oh, I could take you on vacations and take you here, there, and the other with me, and that kind of stuff. So that's number one, is that I'm bringing that up very strongly. But I'm also saying other things like, I'm not boyfriend material, I'm bad news, you should run away, get out while you can. Let's just have fun and let the grown-ups handle the serious stuff. I bring up, again, in different ways, sex often in the conversation. If people ask me about my job and I don't feel that it's at a time in the conversation where it's like really merited or I want to tell them about it, I just be like, yeah, I don't really like talking about work. I'd much rather we get to know each other as people first. So I'm definitely avoiding the interview frames. I'm definitely avoiding qualifying myself or being like try hard in that way. And I'm also being clear that I'm here for experience, right? Oh yeah, I'm just here for the experience. Let's not get so serious so fast. So I do say a lot of things like that. As far as like openly just saying I don't have money, if you're being serious, I don't like it. But if you're joking around, that's fine. That's an interesting question. It's a little off topic, but I guess it kind of relates to all areas of games, so maybe not. Main differences between my game, the game of Julian and Alex, and who has the best game, etc. This question gets asked a ton, who has the best game, and the reason that like there's not and an objective answer is like the reason we don't have rankings or whatever, is that we're all good at different things. And we're usually good at the things we like doing. For example, Jeff is really good at fucking a lot of girls and having a harem. But a lot of times, some of the girls he ends up with, he doesn't like, he screens for being down to fuck and like people that will be the right type of relationship with him, but he doesn't screen quite as much on attractiveness as some of the other coaches. Now, he's not dating like ugly girls by any means, but he's not as concerned with them being like all 10s, but he likes a lot of variety, he likes a lot of sex, and he gets that, right? And his method of game is extraordinarily effective for that, better than anybody else's. So for what he wants, his game does it better than mine or Julian's or Alex's would. Alex has a particular type, and a particular way that he wants to run his night, and a particular way that he wants to run his life. And in order to get that, he has a certain game that's this effective at getting that type. It's also fun for him to do, right? It's not just what's the most effective for him, but it's like, what does he enjoy doing? What will he like? What will feed his soul, so to speak? And he likes to party. He likes being very social, and so his type of game is very effective. It gets a certain type of girl. It doesn't necessarily. It's not necessarily like quite as cutthroat as some other things, or it's not necessarily as like as sniper like as some other forms of game. He's much more willing to like just like feel the situation out and take what comes, as opposed to I want to select my target and I don't give a fuck if she has a boyfriend, a husband, or like a protective father. I don't care. I'm going to select my target. I'm going for the girl I want, and that's it. So that's my philosophy. But his is a little different. In that he's like screening a lot for whether she's down, whether she's not down, and that's very effective as well. And I do screen as well. It's not like these are like completely polar and different. But it works for him. But I would never be able to do Alex's style of game because I would be bored doing it. Right? I like spending time like being purposeless and goofing off in the club for 2 hours just sounds like hell to me. I'd be sitting the whole time being like, fuck, I should do a video. I should make a new marketing campaign. Fuck, I should be reading a book. Fuck, I should be like in the gym. And I hate that wasted time. And so because I hate that wasted time, what's Alex's whole game based on? It's based on like wasting time effectively, right? So that makes him happy. Wasting time having fun partying makes him happy. Wasting time having fun partying pisses me off. So if I did Alex's game, I would stuck at it because the very same thing that he does that brings him massive state and makes him feel great would make me feel terrible, right? And then Julian, he has his own particular desires for the sets, which are oftentimes not even as related to sex as related to like messing with like the social matrix and what he can get away with and those kind of things. And that's really good for him in terms of it making him really outcome independent. So he learns a lot from it. He improves very quickly as his skill set, and he's very outcome independent. And he games the hot girls, very similarly to how he games the not hot girls because he doesn't register them in that way. So that makes it very, very effective. But it's ineffective in a lot of ways because he's trying so many things. He's oftentimes miscalibrated. So he'll get like certain girls that are on, and then they'll, and then later on they won't be as on, or he'll mess around with it. And there's sort of a lack of genuineness there. And then he lacks that sort of sexual killer instinct. He hasn't been through certain things as much because he doesn't care to go through them. So certain areas where like Jeff, for example, will be really, really good because he wants sex. Julian doesn't care as much about the sex, so Julian will actually be less good in those areas and won't close quite as hard in some ways. So the point is, they're all very, very different. It's extremely hard to compare because who's the best at doing the lifestyle Jeff wants? Jeff. Who's the best at doing the lifestyle Alex wants? Alex. Who's the best at getting the reactions and the learning and the experience like from the girls and the back and forth that Julian wants? Julian. I'd say don't try and think of it in terms of like best worst like that. Try and think about what do you want out of game and think what instructor is the closest to what you want, and then emulate that because that's what's going to be the best for you. Okay, let's see. Is there any way to work on sub-communication to help book sets more effectively? Are there specific sub-communications one should strive to project? So in the hot seat, I talk a lot about tonality. Actually, we do an exercise for tonality, which is breaking rapport, neutral to rapport, and trying for rapport. And very quickly, trying for rapport is when everything sounds like a question and your voice slows up at the end. Neutral to rapport is when it's just flat and it's just an exchange of information. And then breaking rapport is when your voice goes down. It's like an exclamation or a command. What I have guys do in the hot seat exercise is they do trying for rapport, like they have them deliver a sentence, where they're trying for rapport with every single utterance. And then I have them do it neutral rapport and breaking rapport. So they start to feel the difference in their body and know what the difference is. And then when they go in, they can deliver the breaking rapport line. But briefly, yeah. You can do that as an exercise. I'm not going to do like a lengthy demo right now because it'd take too much time out of the webinar. But so trying for rapport is everything sounds like a question. Neutral rapport is just like, it just sounds like an exchange of facts. There's no emotional being. It's just almost robotic, not quite, but just no real emotion and no real like judgment or status being conveyed. And then breaking rapport is, I'm higher status than you. I'm yelling at you. I'm commanding you. Those kind of things. So practice doing those three, and then what you want to do for opening and hooking is somewhere between hardcore breaking rapport and neutral rapport. So you want a slight breaking rapport. You don't want to be yelling at someone and telling them they're scum, but at the same time you want to make it clear that you're being commanding. So that's what you're really going for. Trouble talking and improving your vocal projection. This one I'll do really, really fast just because it's funny. And because it's an interesting little exercise. If you want to improve your vocal projection, here's an exercise you can do. What I recommend you do is talk through your nose, okay? And I don't mean to permanently do it, just do it for a minute. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna talk like this through your nose, very, 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 very nasal. And in talking through your nose, what you've done is you can't project from your throat to talk through your nose because your body doesn't work that way, okay? Your body doesn't, the nose and the throat aren't really connected that way. The mouth and the throat are because you have the whole eating and like breathing, like, I don't know, anyway. That's how it works. So it's very hard, at least, to push that much air through your nose by using your throat. So by speaking from your nose, you almost force yourself to speak from down here, from in your diaphragm and in your stomach. So you learn to talk like this, and then once you learn how that feels from like the neck down, then what you do is keep that same feeling from the neck down, but now talk through your mouth. And that will allow you to project very loudly, and it will also allow you to do it in a way that won't lose your voice so much. So that's a good exercise to do, is learn to speak nasal and then drop the nasal, but keep the same body language, or keep the same sort of body feeling. How can you cure entitlement issues to feel entitled even with the 9s and 10s? First of all, I did 2 lengthy videos on this. I think the second one's the better one. They're on my Todd Free Tour channel. It's youtube.com/Todd Free Tour. And one is called How to Sleep with Super Hot Girls or something like that. And the other one's called How to Game 10s. So you can check those 2 out. But entitlement's a funny animal because it's hard to gimmick it. It's hard to like trick yourself into being entitled, because if you trick yourself into being entitled, the very act of doing it is almost unentitled. So entitlement can come from either experience of success, having lots and lots of successes, or it can come from understanding of the world, knowing that you are entitled. Entitlement can also come sometimes from state on a temporary basis. Like if you're feeling on top of the world, you feel like $1 million, even if you're not worth $1 million, so that night you're entitled, but that's temporary. But if you're in state and entitled oftentimes enough, and then you get good reactions and good results, then those results can lead to permanent entitlement, so that works as well. But what I recommend you do right now, 2 things. Number 1, start approaching the 9s and 10s. Just whether you're entitled or not, whether you think you can get them or not, just get the practice. Okay, and understand you're going to fail sometimes, it's fine, but just make yourself do it. Get the gumption of saying, at least I'm the guy who, the 9s and 10s may reject me, but I'm not going to reject myself with them. So that's number 1. Number 2, from a deeper understanding perspective, what I'd recommend is make a list of 10 reasons why you are the best decision your girl could make, and make these things that are inherent to you, not like possessions. So like I'm creative and talented in this area. I'm really good in bed. Those kind of things would be good, but beyond that you don't want like it's because I have a car or a house or something like that. But have that understanding so that when you tell your brain you're entitled, your brain doesn't say bullshit. You're lying to me because you want something. It says, oh, you are entitled. So that'll help a little bit, having the logic behind what you're doing. Okay, I frequent the bars, not bars, but the bars, quite a bit, and I often run to girls I'm dating. Makes me paranoid to see me making out with other girls, hinders my game. I don't tell the girls I'm dating, I sleep with other girls, but I don't pretend we're exclusive either. Any tips? Well, first of all, you have a high quality problem there. If you're a lot of times running into a lot of the girls that you're dating at the same bars, well then that's, that is pretty interesting. That's good. At least it means you're doing that. What I would say is if you're dating girls who you know are regulars at certain bars and you know will be out at those bars, then try not to go to those bars at that time. Which it's a pain in the ass, but that's what happens within any sort of like crowd. It's hard to date a lot of girls within the same social circle. So if you're dating a lot of girls that go to the same club, yeah, it's a problem. If you're dating a lot of girls that are in the same class at school, that's a problem. So make sure that that's the case. And it may be that if that's the case, you do need to actually explicitly let them know you're sleeping with other girls. Now, you don't want to necessarily bring that up, but when it comes up, let it come up. And make sure you do handle things on your terms so they don't have any right to be angry. The other one I'd say is, again, go to different bars, right? If you do know a lot of girls at the same bar. And the other one, I think someone recommended it, is this on here, where someone said don't kiss, someone, when that was put at the start, like, just said don't kiss so many girls. And I don't know if that was a flippant answer or a real answer, but it actually is a good answer, which is game in such a way, if you're in those environments, where you just look like you're being social and you do your escalation elsewhere. A lot of people that game in a social circle, like where people know each other, they can even hook up with many people within that social circle, but they're not so blatant about it. They don't like hook up publicly, right? They let it be like behind closed doors. So that's another thing to do would be just don't be as physical in the club. Don't be as, especially kissing and stuff like that in the club. Do that when you know you're alone. Do that after club. So work more on the pulling and the venue changing and less on the getting super physical. Okay, I'm new to this. I see you say a lot of terms I don't fully understand. We're gonna find core materials to catch up on basics. I would recommend go to the best product for that would be Foundations, which would be it's an old product from Tyler from years ago. Sorry, Foundations and Blueprint. Those would be the two. But yeah, one is they're both from Tyler, I believe. I think Foundations has some other instructors in it, but I'm not sure. It's been a while. But those are the ones for like sort of the technical side, and then the emotional state-based side of game that kind of give like the framework for what we do. I will say, and I'll even endorse, Tyler does say to people that it's okay to BitTorrent them. So if you want to go BitTorrent them, you can, or if you want to buy them, we appreciate it. They're not super expensive, so they're not so bad. But those are good sources. The other good source, interestingly enough, I think a lot of times what goes on the forum, there's a lot of bad posts and then some good posts. You kind of have to sift through it. But if you're just short on terminology, if you want to learn the terminology, you want to understand what's going on, just go one day and just like go to RSD Nation forum, the main forum, and just read through that. And just from context, you're going to start to really understand what most of the words mean. You'll get that pretty damn quickly. And yeah, I'm sorry that I do use too much jargon. I'm trying to be more mainstream, but it's hard because I came up through the pickup community for such a long time. But I try and keep it to a reasonable minimum. Yeah, but those would be things that you could do. Would be get Foundations and Blueprint, which are great as learning resources as well. That would be get on the forum. The third would be just keep doing this and like don't worry if you don't know the terms, because again you'll get them from context. Just embrace what you do understand, and then whatever you don't understand, work with. The other thing that would be good for terminology and for just culture of pickup and all that would be if you're in any kind of major city, go to the Inner Circle chapter in your major city. And for that, what you can do is go on Facebook and do a search for RSD Inner Circle, and you'll find it with like if you're Chicago, RSD Inner Circle Chicago, New York, RSD Inner Circle New York, that kind of thing. Do that search. Or if you don't know if there is one, email to you just email to, I don't know the exact Inner Circle email, but email to support@realsocialdynamics.com, and they'll be able to forward you somewhere where you can get in touch with your Inner Circle chapter, meet up with guys that are going out, and get kind of up to speed on a lot of things. By the way, as an aside to that, if you are fairly new at this, going out with guys who are good at going out will help you way beyond just the terminology. It will help you with tremendous amounts of things like leverage and pushing yourself, and just being positive and on the right path. So I definitely put it up. When is your month 2 within game after the game going live? We are definitely working on it. I've shot all the dates, but they're in editing right now. So we're working on getting the editing. I actually thought that I thought the due date was the 31st/1st, like the end of the month. And then one of our web dev people just put the 28th up kind of on a whim, so I wasn't even aiming for the right due date. but it will be up. We're working on it and getting it up, ideally within the next 2 days. I would say we should definitely have at least some of them up by tomorrow and the day after, and all of them up within a couple days. So yeah, check back for that for sure. And they're really good this month too. The dates went very, very well. Let's see. Techniques for deflecting the bitchy friends blocking the target. Well, first is, if you have to deal with them after the fact of them being bitchy, it's much harder than if you deal with them before the fact of them being bitchy. So the best way to deal with it is before it happens, meaning be friendly to everybody and make them all like you. A lot of times if you're having a lot of friend issues, it's not something you need to solve after the fact. It's something that when you go in, instead of just going directly on your target and ignoring the friends, sometimes acknowledge the friends and let them be part of the interaction as well. And definitely be aware of them after opening the set. So like you're talking to the girl, and it's going, relatively well. You look around and see, oh hey, who are you here with, and find out who the friends are, and then, oh hey, introduce me to your friends. So instead of waiting for the friends to come talk to you on terms that are not favorable to you, go talk to them on terms that are favorable to you. And that will help a lot overall. If it comes off as you're doing it in a happy social way, as opposed to a forced to because they came to you way, then you appear sort of creepy and needy and like you wanted something from the group. So that's not ideal. Let's see. So that's not ideal. Once they have blocked you, just try and be as friendly as possible, and also like be cool and hold your frame. Don't, you may have shit tests from them and that kind of stuff. But just diffuse, be friendly, and be willing to take your time. But again, this is one of those things that's about 1,000 times easier to deal with before it happens than after. So try and deal with it preemptively. Let's see. Yeah, this is at Blaze J with your question about Vegas Immersion. Yeah, if you let us know 2 months before you want to come, that's plenty of time. Actually, to be honest, if you let us know even a month before you want to come, that's pretty good too. If you do want to make sure to let us know and let us know, if you have a rough idea, it's a good idea to put in a deposit so we'll know to hold a spot for you, and make sure that we, depending on the signups, we'll bring in more or fewer coaches over the intervening months. So it's good to let us know that, because it will help you to have a better experience. So we would appreciate it, and it would help. But yeah, if you let us know a month in advance, totally fine. And we'll look forward to seeing you there. That's super cool. Let's see. If you're only approaching her and building a conversation, how do you flip the script and make you the qualifier? So how to flip the script? I would like to say that there's some little magic technique. You just hit the switch and the script is flipped. But it's not quite that way. It comes across in all the different things you do. It's a lot of subtle little things. Because if you did it as one technique, they would probably reject that technique. So if you came in super beta and try hard and overly qualifying yourself and those kind of things, and all of a sudden you're like, I'm the man, respect me. Or what have you got going for you? They'd be like, what the fuck? Why should I tell you? Right? You obviously want me. Fuck you, I don't have to prove myself. So a lot of it is in doing the groundwork of being a high value guy, seeming like you have abundance, seeming cool, offering value, those kind of things, so that it's plausible that you're being selective. And then beyond that, what you start doing is actually being selective, actually testing them a little bit, right? And when you're testing them, if you test them on big things or in things that are very either harsh on their ego or hard for them to comply to, they usually say no. So yes, excuse me. You need to start testing them, but A, you need to be a high enough value guy before you start testing them, and B, start testing them on little things, right? So you could be talking, you're like, oh yeah, I'm from this place, wait, where are you from? With kind of a demanding tonality. And when you say it that way, it's saying, where are you from, and I'm judging you, right? But it's very subtle, and it's an easy question for you to answer, so that's a very light sort of screen, right? But then if you you went with a more of a heavy sort of screen, you're like, talking, nothing going on, and you're like, what do you have going for you besides your looks that would make me want to get to know you, right? A lot of times girls will be like, why should I tell you? Or they're like, nothing, right? Because they just don't feel like answering because you haven't done your groundwork first, and you asked for something too big. So A, do your groundwork. Make sure you seem like a cool, attractive guy. You do all those things to convey high value. Make sure that she's already like at some point in that hooking process. Usually she's already made some form of decision in your favor, focus, relevance, emotion, decision. So you're ready to start qualifying and having her chase. And then when you do start having her chase, have her chase small things first and gradually escalate it. Don't try for something big right away. Is the seminar being recorded? Yes, it is. And it will be posted and or sent out depending on what means you acquired access to it by. How to deal with paranoia in the club. Girls seeing you as if you're talking to... Okay, so you're paranoid about girls seeing you talking to every girl in the club. Well, here's the thing. If you're talking to every girl in the club and it's going well, that's actually a good thing, right? That's actually a good thing. It makes you look cool and social. It makes you look better. If you're talking to every girl and it's going badly, then not so much. So what you want to do is be happy and fun and social and talk to a lot of people rather than like try very hard and escalate and get blown out when you're talking to a lot of people. Especially in a small club where people will actually see you. In a big club, don't even worry about it because the girls don't see you and won't know anyway, so who the fuck cares? It doesn't matter. So that's another way of looking at it. I'm just going to pretend Gangnam Style's question is a troll. How would a morbidly obese 90-year-old hit on 18-year-old girls? It would be harder than if he wasn't morbidly obese and if he wasn't 90. But if he had the proper things going for him, could still get it up, etc., etc., I suppose it would be possible. Especially if he had some semblance of material success and the things that you probably should have successfully at that point. Beyond that, I'm not going to address that because I think that's a joke question. Let's see. Awesome. Okay, thanks, guys. That wraps it up time-wise. Quick closing thoughts on opening and hooking is just go in strong on the open and keep talking no matter what. That's the basics, okay? Go in strong, keep talking no matter what. If you do that right, the rest of the calibration will come. And yeah, read the theory, understand the theory, know the different ins and outs, but understand that your vibe and general demeanor matter more than any of that. So that's number one. For number two, again, understand the hooking model, understand focus, relevance, emotion, decision. That's very important, but I don't want that being primary, again, when you go in and open. Most sets should hook on their own without you having to think too hard and without you having to go through some model. If you are being a high-value man and you are escalating the situation, you are putting some sort of like, push-pull and teasing into it and putting some form of like sort of pressure to comply on them, which is all just inherent elements of game. If you're doing those things, the hook's going to happen naturally more often than not. Most of the time, you'll just get the hook without really trying. But the Fred model is good for two reasons. One, for those sets that just don't hook and you can't figure it out. And two, here's what's really important, is for afterwards. When you have sets that didn't work, figuring out why they didn't work, and when you have sets that did work, figuring out why they did work, so you can continue to improve. So it's even better than for execution in your game. It's really amazing for improving your game, so that's where to really use it, okay? Thank you guys all for coming out. I appreciate it. Come back next month for the webinar, which will be on middle game. So it'll be on emotional connection, physical escalation, building comfort, that kind of stuff. All that stuff that's in between the open and hook, but before the logistics close LMR stuff, okay? So I'll talk to you guys all about that next month.